Chapter 11. A Captivating Melody. As she dreamt, Ruuna found herself staring up at a nearly cloudless late evening sky, now with vibrant red and orange hues vanishing into the speckled heavy blue of night. The once familiar song ran through the valley as Ruuna lay under the cool white protection of the moon. The maiden's voice seemed distant this time, echoing and tracing through the hills, the lyrics nearly lost in even the calmest of zephyrs. Tall, dry stalks of grass would sway into and out the folds of her vision with the breeze. Even though she tried to, she couldn't remember who it was that voice belonged to.
Watch the fire as it dances high at the close of the day. When we gather for this we bow and pray.
Being captive to its lyrics, Ruuna felt as if she were glued to the ground. This moment felt so surreal and peaceful, she thought. She let her eyes close for a moment, in the wake of the last few verses that were sung.
The earth slumbers as the moon rises over, and the stars in the sky aren't alone. Whilst we rest for a new day at dawn, and wake once again in Rome.
Ruuna opened her eyes again, for she felt something gently caress her whiskers. When she did, she was met with the glow of an angel. The figure's silhouette was shaped like that of a rat, his head adorned with a regal crown, and a splendid maroon cape was draped around his nape. She sat herself up fearfully and scampered for protection behind a young field mouse maiden who looked much like her older self. She giggled softly as she helped to calm Ruuna down. The expanse around them was almost as dark as midnight, with the only light glowing from the rat-shaped void in front of the two. Time itself seemed to have frozen fast, keeping all still except the two mice. Though the world around her looked as if it were to speak 1,000 sounds, it was only as quiet as Ruuna's unnerved breathing. She glanced at the maiden confoundedly, and then stared wincingly to the glowing spectacle.
What's happened? Where am I?
But only silence answered her call.
Do you know where my mum is?
Again, she was only met by silence. But then the sound of soft tears and mingling sniffs caught her ear. When she peered again at the mouse maiden beside her, she saw that she was crying. Soon Ruuna could feel her spirit boil, concluding that it was him who caused all her calamity.
Oi, answer me! Was it you who brought me here?
Hush now, brave one.
With a voice that like thunder, the rat finally spoke now with authority.
You are at the precipice of a final act. An empty, eternal abyss, if not for the love of but one. Nevertheless, in time, you will have seen this for yourself.
Ruuna was confused further by this statement. Becoming more impatient, she asked again as she shook her head frustratedly.
But how does that make any sense? Never mind that. I promised I would help free my friends and get them home again. Please, will you help me?
When your eyes awake, remember my words. You have been gifted a ballad, one that shall gain you and your friends freedom. You will know by heart its tune, but will indeed forget its words.
The prose rang loud in Ruuna's mind as she tried to make sense of the spoken illustration. Suddenly, in the deafening silence between his words, a new vision clouded her sight as it overtook her whole being. In the moon's cast of this vision, Ruuna's ears twitched when she heard lonesome weeping from a single pitiful prison cell hidden inside the carved-out trunk of some early birch. In it, she strained to see what looked like a small figure, with a nervous tail curled around tightly held legs. Though she could not ascertain the creature's identity, she felt a sense of familiarity for it. Shadows cast by the moon cut through the drowsy fog of midnight that filled the room. A hummed, doleful melody, with tears intermingled, yet touched with a certain hope, filled the nighttime silence, lasting what seemed like a whole eternity. Just then, the powerful voice of the rat cut through her mind as he continued his message.
The hymns themselves are like a fading cloud. However, do not spurn the melody, for it holds your freedom. And it is a song that will bring calm to those whom its notes reach.
Song? What song? I was never taught any kind of music. Besides that, how will singing help?
In time. Furthermore, I convey this message. One of a kindred and sturdy spirit will interlace with your path.
The lonely vision once more clouded her mind in the serene quiet between his spoken words. Instantly, a new sound reached Ruuna's ears, that of shuffling leaves, not but only a few paces away. She looked and saw that a round, hooded figure, bearing a sling in his left paw, emerged from a nearby bush, pausing briefly when he heard the tune. As if drawn by it, Ruuna watched as he changed his course to find its origin. But before Ruuna could see the vision through, the powerful voice of the angel-like rat coursed through the air like thunder, leaving her dazed.
This one shall act as an ally to you. Trust in him fully when the moment arrives, O Gold Heart.
But how will I know who it is?
In time, these secrets will be unclouded. Keep on the watch, therefore, and remember this song and melody when you awake once more. But as for myself, I shall bid thee farewell, for my time is near.
Ruuna watched as the Mouse Maiden arose, her comforting paw on Ruuna's shoulder as she approached the heavenly figure.
You must be strong, little one, to stand so fearlessly. Safeguard your spirit and heart, then, and let it not harden.
Now, taking her place near her guardian, her paws clasped and her head lowered, she began to emit a faint glow as she sang the familiar psalm. Ruuna immediately began to feel sleepy, falling victim to its soothing melody.
When your dying sunbeams roll me down, our broken good friends we see. Though we're here in this bright world, we shall never forget why we're free.
Soon Ruuna began to awake as the ballad echoed and faded into the back of her mind. As she began to regain consciousness, the sound of worried creatures' voices began to register in her large ears.
Ruuna? Ruuna! She's coming to life!
Her tired, glossy eyes opened to find herself collected along with the other woodland slaves in a small room made of cobblestone walls, hard rock as its base, and a wooden ceiling and bars. She was barely able to register all this before looking up to meet Cecil's worried eyes standing over her.
Cecil.
She blinked and rubbed her eyes, believing this to be nothing more than another dream.
Ruuna! You're awake!
Everyone in the room hushed Cecil's unexpectedly loud exclamation. Ruuna stared at him in confusion, wondering what had happened and where she was. She winced painfully after feeling a sharp ache as she rubbed the bump that formed where the spear blunt had struck.
My head hurts. Oh, what's happened? Where am I?
Those starling birds dragged us to the prison keep, under a tree after they put you and Quint to sleep. That's why you have the bump the size of a pumpkin seed on your head there.
Cecil's voice seemed freer now that Belle wasn't around to chastise him.
You've been out cold for almost the whole day now. It's almost sundown. When Quint woke up, he was all worried about you. You should have seen him.
All right. Enough now, Cecil.
Quint muttered, his teeth clenched in indignation at the vole. He got up and approached the two from his small corner where the cobblestone walls met.
Get off her now.
But she's only just woke up.
About time, too.
Still fuming about the situation, Quint had his arms crossed as he glared at Cecil to leave Ruuna alone. Slowly, Cecil pushed himself up and sat himself about 3 paces away from Ruuna. Ruuna, too, pushed herself to a more upright position. She rubbed the sore spot on her head while trying to hold back a groan of pain.
My head.
Quint approached and crouched down in front of her, causing Ruuna to lift her gaze when she heard his shuffle.
You're hurt that bad, huh?
Quint asked softly, only catching himself when he saw others staring at him in near disbelief.
You're just a pup if you think that hurt. Boy, I bet even Cecil wouldn't have cried like that.
Hey, you big mean rat! Leave her alone!
Quint didn't really like Cecil. He thought of him like mice, too good for their own being.
That's bloody rich. The little Moboy's got a newfound voice now, since the only strong one among us has run off.
Hey, if she was still here, she'd rip your ear out if she heard you talking like that.
Ruuna stood herself between the two, aiming to calm the feud.
Stop, please! Belle didn't mean to run off without us.
Oh, really? And you don't think that we'd be stuck in here if she didn't? I hope she fell in a hole somewhere or got lost, like you are in the head.
Ruuna winced and shrank back at Quint's insulting and provocative demeanor.
Oi, you only say that because you're scared.
His rebellious, teeth-baring grin closed after Ruuna pushed his accusative, single-fingered paw away in a truly upset regard. Looking around to see the others staring at him, Quint realized that provoking the leader of the group may not be to his advantage.
You're not as tough as I thought. Just a wilting flower.
He slowly staggered back to his own corner, now in a foul mood. Ruuna watched, growing a mix of disdain at him, though she couldn't understand why he felt like this. Even Quint didn't quite know why he was upset. Perhaps it was his reputation. He saw how the others laughed at him when he tried to help Ruuna. It could be that hunger was the justification. He hadn't eaten since the ambush. No, maybe it was being trapped here with helpless creatures, none of which could help themselves. Yes, that must be it. Quint knew that it had to be the others. Who else could it be?
Me and my good tail will find my own way out of here. You'll see.
Quint looked around after muttering those words, hoping that none of the others had heard him. He spotted Cecil staring at him with eyes of sorrow. With his brow furrowed, he gave way to an indignant remark in Cecil's direction.
What are you looking at, eh? Stare at your own sorry tail, will ya?
Quint's eyes were like fire, but finally he tore them away from Cecil. Ruuna had gotten up and wandered over to where Cecil had been resting, near the back wall. She wiped her snout and sniffled as she spoke.
Don't mind him. I don't know why he's gotten into this foul mood. For now, let's focus outside. I can't tell exactly why, but I have a feeling that someone might visit us tonight.
She sat next to Cecil against the wall, sharing her blanket as she did.
All right.
Together, they looked up at the moonlit sky, to the starry expanse above, nearly lost in wonder at how vast the world outside could really be. Out in the moonlit brush of the Starling territory, Slagg had found himself hiding inside a budding spirea bush, along with the other 3 weasel corsairs that served as his ill-witted cohorts. From the outside perspective, the silhouette of the brush the 3 had hidden themselves in moved, swayed, and rustled, its form influenced by the squirming of their inability to remain calm.
Keep still, you lot, else I'll have you shoved and drowned in a puddle. Get your tail out of me face, you pond scum! I'm trying. It's slippery in here, I can't get a grip.
Red Claw complained to Slagg, somehow sliding to the bottom of the pack.
Ow! Someone's got me right foot pole gripped tighter than a crab claw. Let go, ye crab apple.
Me thought it was a walnut. I'm starved.
A walnut? Are you that stupid, you nut brain? This is a berry bush, not a walnut tree.
Stubb and Scratchnose argued, causing Slagg to slowly lose his patience.
It's cold enough to freeze the balls off a brass mouse monkey. Can't we light a fire or something?
Red Claw shivered, only to have Slagg call his plea for warmth out of the question.
Oh, no, you half-wit! The glow and smoke of the fire will give our hiding spot away. Now get yourselves upright and ready to sneak out of here. Methinks me can spy an opening.
Soon they all readied themselves, awaiting on Slagg's word to proceed. In the moonlight, Slagg peered out at the horizon to see 2 dark silhouettes about a stone's throw away, though not easily discernible, waiting in front of the moon's glow. Stubb began to feel a deep sense of unease hold him fast after he caught sight of the distant figures, the feeling of tightness gripping his chest and throat like a coiling snake. He gasped loudly when a twig snapped, causing one of the dark silhouettes to shift and change, as if it had turned to stare in their direction for only an instant. Slagg hushed the shivering Stubb, covering over his chattering teeth with a dirty, wet paw.
Shh, you'll give us away!
Stubb nodded furiously, not making another peep, sound, or breath. Satisfied, Slagg turned back to see that the dark forms had disappeared. They were gone.
What's happened to those 2 figures in the distance?
Scratchnose was the first to answer, responding nervously in his nasally tone.
They looked like they didn't notice us and disappeared. That way, methinks.
Right, good. Now you 3, keep on your toes and make due east. And no beast makes any more noise now. Right, Stubb?
The growling nature of Slagg caused Stubb to break his focus off the moonlit horizon where the forms had lingered before. He locked eyes with Slagg, noting the contempt in his stern and narrowed gaze. It was enough to break him out of his fear-ridden trance. Still, something seemed to pull at his spirit, as if something had now had him in its sights. Putting it out of his mind a moment, He gave an ill-witted salute in reply.
Right. First mate Slagg, sir.
Still cringing at the half-hearted attempt at respect, Slagg shook his head with a grumpy groan as he turned to lead a path out of the brush toward the east. The other 3 corsairs took a moment to realize that their leader had left them.
Hey, you 3 numbskulls, get your tails to following.
Swiftly, yet clumsily, they all took after Slagg and followed him down the trail. As they went along, Redclaw decided to make jest at Stubb's unusually frightened demeanor, nudging Scratchnose in the ribs to get his attention.
Hey, Scratchnose, watch this.
With surprising agility, Redclaw tiptoed quickly behind the nervous wreck of Stubb's constantly wandering attention. Completely oblivious to Redclaw, Stubb could swear that the trees had grown eyes, or that the stones could hear his thoughts. He was not at all prepared for the sudden grasp at his back and the hollow whisper that emanated from Redclaw.
Boo!
As soon as he felt Redclaw's paws at his back, his heart stopped and skipped a few beats as he doubled over in terror. It caught again, beating twice as fast as before. Redclaw took his paws off the terror-stricken creature, sensing that something was amiss.
What?
Redclaw could now see the sickly expression on Stubb's visage, his eyes drooping, yet wide open, as he clenched his chest, staring off into oblivion. Slowly he turned his gaze toward Redclaw, and uttered a whisper so high and squeaky that it resembled a child.
Fiona! It's you!
He began to steady himself as he realized that it was only Redclaw and Scratchnose chastising him. Slowly he recovered, standing up straight to address and accuse his weasel companions of nearly ending his very existence.
Why'd you do that? You pot!
You look like a scared babe. You should have seen your face, mate.
Scratchnose jested.
Ouch!
Slagg was done with all the noise the 3 weasels had made for themselves, and in one swift motion turned and dealt a blow to Scratchnose's unfortunate snout.
Shh! You blathering dunderhead! Do you want to become bird food?
Ow! Me one good nostril.
Sheesh! Why did I ever hire such a daft set of tubes? I'd be better off with you 3 dead in the mud. Right, Redclaw, get your back straight, you slacker. Scratchnose, get your paw off your nose. 'Tis but a scratch.
With fear at what else he might do to them, the weasels scrambled over and around each other as they came to attention.
And Stubb, don't think I haven't noticed your fear. Ugh, you smell and reek of it. Ugh. Another shiver, and I'll have you set as bird bait.
But, first matey, sir.
No buts. I'll have you rattlebrains all whipped into shape once I'm done with you. Come on down the path. Forward on, you dafties.
With that, the 3 weasels led a line down the path, following the direction of the pointing paw Slagg held toward the east, following himself once Stubbed past him. As soon as they tiptoed across the border of the Starling territory, Redclaw asked the question that was on every creature's mind in that moment.
What are we gonna do about them slaves, Slagg?
There was an uneasy quiet that whispered deafeningly around them as Slagg paused in place. He remained planted as his dirty paw tested the tender spot on his side. Remembering the defiant look on that rebellious mouse's face as she threw the rock that struck him, ruining the plan that Slagg had so well under control, put a burning hate toward her. In time, he would fulfill his revenge. As they watched, the 3 weasels shuffled nervously as unbridled rage began coursing through the gopher. Unaware of just how red-hot Slagg's anger was, Stubb continued the question, against the better judgment of his two younger siblings.
We can't just leave them there, can we?
Now, quiet! They'll be a lost cause to us now. Methinks them squawks, you called them, they would have us dead if they found us. Those babes won't escape their claws. Just means we'll have to continue searching for more, and we'll start looking again in the morrow. We can't wait long, though. We're expected at Dolphin's Cove to meet me old captain with the goods. Perhaps in time we'll cross once more. Then it'll be me you'll cower to.
Right. Does that mean we can finally get some shut-eye? I'm bushed.
Palming his face with his paw, Slagg reluctantly answered, knowing he wouldn't get much use out of unwilling souls.
Yes.
Reluctantly, Slagg yawned, signaling that he too was tired from the day's events. Soon a small fire was built. A crude tent was erected from the surrounding dead brush and an old cloth, and eventually snores could be heard throughout the night. Staring out at the starry, moonlit sky from the wooden prison bars proved to be an exhausting task, Cecil thought. Perhaps a little shut-eye wouldn't be such a bad thing. Soon Cecil found himself dozing asleep, slowly leaning on Ruuna's arm for support.
Hey! Wake up! You sleepy. Head. Never mind. I guess I'll have to keep watching on my own.
Feeling the tired drowsiness of the near-silent midnight, she scanned the small room around her, observing the others, sleeping and huddled together for comfort. Soon, too, her weary eyes began to droop, and she felt the heaviness of slumber begin to overwhelm her. She lay against the wall, staring out at the cloudless starry night, soundlessly waiting as the soothing atmosphere of crickets began to put her mind to sleep. Just as she was about to fall into a deep slumber, a dark silhouette, akin to that of a ghost, crossed the moon's light just behind the door bars, causing Ruuna to become fully aware.
Belle? Is that you?
Slowly, she pushed herself up again, rubbed her eyes, and peered out past the bars into the dark void of night. A calm but eerie moment passed as Ruuna approached the door, straining to discern just what could be past the bars and in the depths of darkness. But all seemed quiet and still, and Ruuna could again feel the drain of enervation surround her like a warm veil. Not hearing a single sound out of the ordinary, she turned and stumbled her way back toward Cecil, not even making it to the wall again before collapsing from fatigue. She slept a dreamless, peaceful rest that night.